Back, had a super busy day today, but nothing better than to come home and read. We are reading the Sealed Nectar, it's the little pocket version, and we are on page 326 in the section that says The Immigration of the Prophet. Alright, and we're starting on the top, on the left hand side. In fact, it was his wish to honor his maternal uncles and live among them. The fortunate host, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, stepped forward to his mount. So he brought him into his home, and Asad bin Zurara took the reins of the mount while he was still on it. In the narrations of Anas that al-Bukhari recorded, the Prophet said, "Which is the nearest of our houses of our kith and kin?" Abu Ayyub said, "Mine, O Allah's Messenger. This is my house, and this is my gate." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Go and prepare a place for our midday rest." Abu Ayyub said, "Get up, both of you, with Allah's blessings." A few days later, there arrived the Prophet's spouse, Sauda, his two daughters, Fatima and Kulthum, Usama bin Zayd, Ayman, Abdullah, son of Abu Bakr, with Abu Bakr's household, including Aisha. Zainab was not able to emigrate and stayed with her husband, Abul As, till Badr battle. Aisha said, "When Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, arrived in Medina, both Abu Bakr and Bilal fell ill. I went to both of them and said, 'O my father, how do you feel? O Bilal, how do you feel?' Whenever Abu Bakr's fever got worse, he would say, 'Everybody is staying alive among his people, yet death is nearer to him than his shoelaces.'" Oh snap, that's dark. And whenever fever deserted Bilal, he would say aloud, "Would that I could stay overnight in a valley, wherein I would be surrounded by Idikir and Jalil, two good-smelling grasses. Would that I could drink one day the water of Mahanna, and would that Shama and Tafil, two mountains at Mecca, would appear to me." Then I went to Allah's Messenger, peace be upon him, and told him about that. He said, "O Allah, make it healthy and bless its sa and mud," i.e. two measurements, it says, "and take away its fever to al-Jufa." Here ends this phase of his life, completing the phase of the Islamic call, that is, the Meccan phase. Dwelling of Yathrib tribes at the time of immigration. Ooh, super tiny map, family, but I'll still show you. It's a tiny little map right there. Alright, next section says, Life in Medina. The Medinese phase could be divided into 3 stages. The first stage was characterized by a lot of trouble and conflict, and many obstacles from within. This was coupled with a hostile wave from outside, without aiming at total extermination of the rising faith. It ended with Al-Hudaybiyah peace treaty. Okay, that's the peace treaty in Dhul Qa'dah 6 AH. Ooh, that's a cool name for a treaty. The second stage featured a truce with the pagan leadership and ended in the conquest of Mecca in Ramadan 8 AH. It also witnessed the Prophet, peace be upon him, inviting kings beyond Arabia to enter the fold of Islam. In the third stage, people came to embrace Islam in hosts. Tribes and other folks arrived in Medina to pay homage to the Prophet, peace be with him. It ended at the death of the Prophet in Rabiul Awal 11 AH. Alright, the first stage, the status quo in Medina at the time of emigration. Emigration to Medina could never be attributed to attempts to escape from jeers and oppression only, but it also constituted a sort of cooperation with the aim of erecting the pillars of a new society in a secure place. Hence it was incumbent upon every capable Muslim to contribute to building this new homeland. immunizing it and supporting it. The leader and spiritual guide would be no doubt the noble messenger, peace be with him, in whose hands exclusively all affairs would be resolved. In Medina, the Prophet, peace be with him, had to deal with three distinctly different categories of people with different respective problems. Okay, let's see. 1. His companions, the noble and Allah-fearing elite. 2. The Madinis, who were polytheists that did not yet believe. 3. The Jews. 1. As for his companions, the conditions of life in Medina were totally different from those they experienced in Mecca. There in Mecca, they used to strive for one corporate target, but physically, they were scattered, overpowered, and abandoned. They were helpless, and in terms of pursuing their new course of orientation, their means socially and materially fell short, establishing a new Muslim community. In parallel lines, the Meccan chapters of the Noble Quran were confined to describing the Islamic principles, establishing legislations pertaining to the believers individually, enjoining good and piety and forbidding evils and vices, as well as vivid descriptions of paradise and hell. In Medina, things were otherwise. Here all the affairs of their life rested in their hands. Now they were at ease and could quite confidently handle the challenges of civilization, construction, means of living, economics, politics, government, administration, war and peace, classification of questions of the halal and haram. Okay, halal is the good one, haram is the bad one, right? Worship, ethics, and other relevant issues. Briefly, they were in Medina at full liberty to erect the pillars of a new Muslim community, not only different from the pre-Islamic code of life, but also distinctive in its features in the world as a whole. It was a society that could stand for the Islamic call, for whose sake the Muslims had been put to unspeakable tortures for 13 years. 13 years. Wow, keep striving for 13 years is a long revolution, fam. No doubt, the construction of a society that runs in line with this type of ethics cannot be accomplished overnight. Within a month or year, it requires a long time to build, during which legislation and legalization will run gradually in a complementary process with mind cultivation, training, and education. Allah, the All-Knowing, of course, undertook legislation, and his Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him, the explanation, implementation, and reformation. Long quote here, fam. He it is who sent among the unlettered ones a messenger, Muhammad, from among themselves, reciting to them his verses, purifying them from the filth of disbelief and polytheism, and teaching them the book, this Quran, Islamic laws, and Islamic jurisprudence, and al-hikmah as sunnah, legal ways, orders, acts of worship, etc. of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him. 62:2. End of the quote. The Prophet's companions rushed enthusiastically to assimilate these Quranic rules and fill their hearts joyfully with them. And when his verses, this Quran, are recited unto them, they, i.e. the verses, increase their faith. With respect to Muslims, this task constituted the greatest challenge for Allah's Messenger. In fact, this very purpose lay at the heart of the Islamic call and the mission of Muhammad. It was never an incidental issue, though there were the matters that required urgent addressing. The Muslims in Medina consisted virtually of two parties. Okay. Legalization will run gradually. Wow, yeah. So, here's the really cool thing, too, if you think about it. Muhammad, it's not just enough to be like, okay, this is the new system of believing. No, it's like you're going to do a whole restart. Think about that for a second. The amount of focus, determination, and stress to go from being abused, right? Well, being an orphan, having people he cared about died, right? Suffering, being ridiculed, people trying to publicly humiliate him, pouring the animal guts on him, remember? to go on this 13-year journey of like trying to find a place where you can finally just not be harassed as much. And now he's has to invite the diplomats. Remember, it said he brought different beyond Arabian kings, right, to come in and get into the fold of Islam. It's a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy, a lot of focus, a lot of determination. Some people might not realize how extensive that is to do such a thing. The Muslims in Medina consisted virtually of two parties. The first one already settled down in their abode, land and wealth full at ease, but seeds of conflict amongst them were deeply seated and chronic enmity continually evoked. They were Al-Ansar, the helpers. The second party were Al-Muhajirun, the emigrants, homeless, jobless, and often penniless. Their number was not small. On the contrary, it was increasing by day after the Prophet, peace be upon him, had given them the green light to leave for Medina, whose economic structure, originally not that prosperous one, began to show signs of imbalance, aggravated by economic boycott that the anti-Islamic groups imposed, and consequently imports diminished and living conditions worsened. Wow, what? Anti-Islamic groups imposed certain imports. Wow. Even back then they were trying to use those. It's like sanctions. So the helpers versus the immigrants. Maybe not versus, but they were people who, Muslims in Medina, it says that he really had to kind of talk to him. Man, the homeless, the jobless. So that's like the peasant class. And then the elite class sounds like they had land and wealth and abode. So your standard situation there. Al-Ansar, the helpers. Muhajirun, the immigrants. Wow, that's so sad. The poor little homeless. So we have the different stages in life in Medina. It's interesting that the people of Medina are called the Madanites. Because I might have said the Madanites. Okay. A little petite section, but it's still interesting. Idikir and Jalil. When I used to mow the lawn for my grandpa, I really liked that smell of the grass, and now I miss it. So I know how they're talking about. And hay smells so good. It's one of the best smells. Especially like when it's dry and sometimes it gets a little wet. It's not supposed to get wet, but if it gets a little wet, it smells so refreshing. Alright, family, what do you think? There's a lot of facts and dates in this section. Interesting. Alright, and then we'll pick up on 2 later. Okay, family, let me know what you think.